Hi everyone, welcome to this SustainLab webinar on 5 things we have learned while helping companies prepare for CSRD. My name is Maria Svantemark, I'm the CEO and co-founder.
And I'm Sofie Bergdahl, part of the customer success team here at SustainLab.
And SustainLab is a full sustainability solutions provider featuring an automated and easy-to-use sustainability data handling platform. So with the platform, we can automate your data handling so you can spend less time on that and more on creating actual change. And in addition, we offer consultancy services either in-house or via our ecosystem of partners. And one of these services is the CSRD gap analysis. And that brings us to the topic of today's webinar.
And I think by now most of you have heard about CSRD already. So we won't go into the details of the regulation here today, but what we will talk about is the main insights that we gathered from this super exciting project where we got to talk to a lot of different companies and discuss their readiness in regards to CSRD. And the project, it involves different parts. On the one hand, we are performing internal interviews with key stakeholders of the organization. And on the other hand, we also let them use our self-assessment tool, which is part of the platform and based on the regulation. So it really gives the organization a good chance to assess their readiness in regards to each disclosure requirement of the regulation. And then it's on us to put this together in an analysis and present to the C-level management and leave an actual action plan behind us.
And this has been a very, very interesting work to do. And today we're going to look at 5 of the insights we gained during this process and also some actionable takeaways that you can hopefully implement already now in your organization so you get more ready for CSRD. And these are real insights from real companies struggling with the same challenges that you probably do yourself. So let's not spend any more time on introductions, but dive right into the first insight. What's that?
Let's go. Yeah, so the first insight we got, or what we identified, is that there is generally a lack of knowledge about CSRD within the organizations. And that, I would say, is except from the sustainability team. And one of the benefits of doing this method when doing the gap analysis is really that we get insights from different positions and different functions across the organization. So we can really get an understanding of the overall organization's readiness. And it has been clear that it is mainly the sustainability team that has been reading up on CSRD until now. And I mean, that is understandable. It makes sense that it starts in the sustainability team as it is a sustainability directive. But one of the main differences between CSRD and the previous one called NFRD is that CSRD is really something that has to be integrated into the whole organization and involve different functions and thus also different people. So, Maria, how can our listeners here use this insight when it comes to prepare themselves for the CSRD reporting?
Well, the first point is education, and perhaps it should say education, 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 because I will come back to this. But one way of getting a head start on this is to look at, have you done anything similar previously in your organization? If so, you can copy previous successes. And what comes to mind is implementation of GDPR. It shares so many similarities with CSRD. It's a legislation, the whole company and whole organization needs to be involved. It affects all companies, very similar to CSRD. So what did you do when you had to implement GDPR? Can you learn from what worked well and what didn't, and then adapt it to CSRD? Then you have a bit of a head start. And when it comes to education, not least the C-level is important to educate because you need to have them on board with you on this journey. One way of doing it easy is to make the education bite-sized. We have some customers that have included CSRD as a point on every management team agenda to ensure that they bit by bit increase the competence level of the management team. But there will also be some people or some parts of the organization where you need to spend more time on one-to-one education because they will do so many new things and they need more time and attention to be able to deliver on that. And then one thing we realized or really noticed when we have done these presentations for the management team is speaking the language really, really helps.
Yeah.
So when we talked about risk or resilience or strategy or competitiveness, we can really see the lights pop for the CFO and the CEO, and this talk goes right into what they're interested about. So try to find that common ground that you can stand on, and using the other person's language is really a way to get there quickly. And then one thing to remember is with CSRD, a new requirement that's coming is that the board needs to have competence on sustainability as well. And whose responsibility is it to educate the board at your company? Make sure you decide that early on so that you don't forget about the board in this case.
Really. And before moving on to the next one, I just want to add there that it was quite many who commented on this during the interviews. And I had someone saying, like, I never heard about CSRD at all before this. And I think that is really one of the reasons why it's so important to start already now. Right?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Okay, let's moving on to the next one. The previous one was about the knowledge, the general knowledge within the organization, but this one is more about the lack of alignment and clarity. So even for those who knew a little or at least something about CSRD, they still request instructions and they want to know what is required from them specifically, how they can contribute to the readiness, and really what it's going to mean for them.
Okay, so how can we help here? Well, the first takeaway is to understand your current processes and how they can be used to also work for CSRD. One example is if you have someone who is responsible for risk management in your company, can that person also be responsible for the part of risk that comes under CSRD and also be responsible for reporting that? And this is a place where you know your company best. You can quickly understand what processes you have in place by talking to other people in your organization. And most companies will manage to do this without external help by just talking more with your colleagues. And that brings me to the next point. Ensure this cross-functional collaboration. We have also seen when we're doing this analysis that quite often the information is available somewhere in the organization, but all stakeholders that need access to it don't have it because there's a communication gap. So this is also something that the quicker you can close that gap, the more material and the more of what you need to report on CSRD will already be there. And to do this, it's of course important that everyone kind of uncovers their gaps. So we have seen this, that there's a bit of hesitation sometimes to ask questions, to admit that you don't know everything you might need to know about CSRD. So how can you as a sustainability manager or in the sustainability team help here? Well, explain in your organization that CSRD is new for everyone. There is not much developed best practice yet. We do not expect everyone to have all the answers yet. But if we can unearth these gaps we have, we can together close them to really have everyone to ask the questions they need so that you can have a smooth reporting process. Yeah, that I would say are the main takeaways here.
And I think we have a few examples here as well. And I think what you are saying now, it goes for all companies, regardless how much you have been working with sustainability before. And I mean, I think it was only just the other week when I talked to a company who are doing really good on sustainability already. And at least what I understand from their work, they have really managed to integrate it into different processes and different functions. But anyway, they are the individuals that has or have sustainability on top of their agenda every day. They still require instructions on how to work with CSRD and don't know whether the processes they have are aligned to CSRD or not, or if they have to change anything in order to be compliant. And on the other hand, on the other part of the spectrum, those customers or those companies who hasn't been working so much with sustainability or have been working more with a silo thinking when it comes to sustainability, they are even more requesting instructions because many people in the organization have no idea about how to integrate this perspective into their daily work. And I don't think they are alone in that position right now.
No.
Okay, so let's go for the third one. And the third one is what we call an over-trust in the sustainability team. And what does this mean? Well, that the management team that we have been talking to generally place a great trust in their sustainability counterparts. And I mean, on the one hand, this is a really good thing. It means that we have great sustainability managers out there and that we are in good hands when it comes to the sustainability work. But on the other hand, that can also be a risk, as it might be so that the management team actually exclude themselves from this very comprehensive work. And they have to be on board, right? We said it a few times.
Yes, for sure. They have to. And this risk might be even more prominent in areas where, or in companies where you might have had a great sustainability work, but it has been on one part of the sustainability agenda. So you might have had a really great work when it comes to reducing carbon emissions or working with your own workers, but you lack that holistic sustainability agenda. In those companies, we see that overtrust in the sustainability manager is even more risky because here the sustainability manager really needs the full organization behind to expand on these successes in this particular area to a more holistic sustainability work going forward. So ensure that you have your organization with you. And another time when this overtrust in the sustainability team is risky is when the sustainability manager is not part of the management team. So in those cases, make sure that the sustainability manager get access to the management team and get access to what's discussed in those forums, but also that they get a say on the agenda on things that then relates to CSRD. And as we said, it's wide, so the touch points with the rest of the organization will be great in this area.
And even here, I have a quote, and I actually will read it out loud because I think it's so well said. It was one sustainability manager saying, "I don't think management team understands how much will be required of them to maintain structure, and it will be so important for us to have a good internal dialogue before we get into this." And I think that's really exemplifies what you are saying right now.
Yeah.
And one of the reasons to why this is so important is also that one of the mandatory parts of the CSRD is the disclosure called cross-cutting. And cross-cutting, what it is about is really a business model, it's about strategy, it's about risk, it's about opportunities, and not least the financial implications in relation to sustainability on all of those areas. So make sure to set up forums where you can discuss and work together on this. Okay, the fourth one, which is about data and the challenge of data. And what we have seen is that most companies we have been talking to have a general acknowledgement and an understanding that data is important for them. And this is about data quality, data collection, data accuracy, traceability, and how well they can trust the data they have. And even though many companies also feel like this can be quite challenging and a bit overwhelming, or what do you think?
Yes, for sure. And also, yes, it's also correct. There is a quite large focus on data in CSRD. And one of the things we see is that most companies, even companies who work structured and well with data, will need to update their data strategies. And they will need to make sure that their data strategy is consistent and that it works to report on CSRD. And this can become even more complex if you are reporting for a group of companies, since you need to report on CSRD on group level. Make sure that your data strategy covers that. And it is a vast amount of data that needs to be reported. I mean, CSRD is more than 1,100 data points, and even though each and every company doesn't need to report on all the 1,100, there will be a lot of data points that you need to report, and you want to really have a strategy that supports that. And then there are these specific requirements when it comes to data related to data tagging and the format that the report needs to be produced in. And here I would say that that's a problem to be solved, but you can also have such good help from your IT colleagues here. So make sure you buy them a lunch and get them on board early so they can help you out on this part.
Yeah. And I think among the companies we have been talking to, it's quite different how far they come or how far they got on sustainability data management until now. But what is clear, though, is that there is lots of manual work that is going on out there. And it's both for data collection, but also on aggregating the data and turn those data points that they have into valuable and not least trustable insights that they can use in their decision making. So that is also an insight that I bring with me. Okay, the fifth one, or the last one, which is also in relation to data, but it's about the need for a digital tool to use for in the data management. And this is something that we as well very much believe in, right?
Yes, I mean, this is our home turf. But we hear this with the companies we work with, that they understand that work in Excel will be a nightmare when it comes to reporting on this. So really find a solution that helps you, but also helps you to deal with this sheer volume of data, and that your data strategy that we talked about in the previous insight can be supported by that tool you choose. And also to have that real structured, because it is so much data that needs to be reported. So you do want to know who reported what data, when, how far am I, how much am I missing? And then we have all the new demands now that CSRD comes with when it comes to data. Increased demands for traceability and transparency and auditability of the data. Make sure that you have a tool that helps you with this. And this is one of the parts where working in Excel is going to be really hard, or working in multiple Excels, which is often the case, is going to be really hard, because just knowing all of this, is this the latest version of this Excel? What changed with the previous one? Where's the proof for this data point? Who did report this? That's going to be a very tedious task to work with. And there are great tools that support this. So when you work in SustainLab, for example, all data that's put into the platform is timestamped, so we know exactly who reported what, when, what is the latest version. And we have just now in August released a super cool new module of the platform, which makes this traceability so much easier, because you can just follow the data anywhere you are in the platform to the previous point or the next point. So you can look at a KPI and say, hey, show me all the data that's included in this and where it comes from. And I'm so excited for releasing this, because I just know how much it will help sustainability managers with these coming demands. It's going to be such a breeze.
Can only agree.
Yeah, I'm excited for that one. All right. And the last point about this, for me to say at least, is start now to automate what you already have. And I know, Sofie, you have some things there as well.
To continue on it. Yeah, that's what I wanted to add. When is the great timing to start? And it's really what you said now, because even though we have seen throughout those processes that many companies, they have quite a lot of gaps to close, but they also have some data points that are already there now. And what we see is that it's so much better to start adding those to the platform and start automate those processes, not least to free up time in order to close the gaps you need to close. And when you are up and running in the platform, you also can leverage on the processes you already have and replicate to other parts where you need to create processes, and thus close gaps more efficiently. And what is happening now with CSRD and many of those other regulations that comes on sustainability is that sustainability reporting, it gets even more close to what financial reporting has been for decades. So you will need some kind of digital tool and some processes, as you have been talking about right now. And it is actually so that 96% of global leaders, they believe that digitalization will be essential to sustainability. Yet only 35% actually have implemented some sort of digital tool. So there is a huge underutilization here.
That's quite shocking.
Yeah, it is. I've read it a few times, but every time I was like, oh, that's really true. But implementing our software, it takes about 8 to 10 weeks. We can do it faster. I think our breaking record is 3 days. But if you want to do it properly, you want to get a great onboarding experience where you can really sit together with us and understand what data you need. We can verify the data together, and we, as together with you, can build the processes you need, because it's not only about implementing the platform, it's also about setting up the processes and getting the people involved on board. Then our recommendation is about 2 to 4 months, depending on the situation, but that goes for whichever tool you want. So it's not only the SustainLab onboarding, it should be in general, I would say.
Yeah.
And it's also a good recommendation to plan the onboarding so you can get the chance to get a dry run on the reporting before it's time to report for real. And then you can try out all the processes. You can find out if you have any errors in those processes and fix them until it's time for you to do it on your final reporting time. And it's also totally fine to start with a few data points and then add more data points as you go, and also as it becomes more evident to you what you actually need to report on. And I think that is actually also recommended to start with just a few data points in order to not make it overwhelming, as we were talking about before. Start small and then let the scope expand as you go.
Yeah, that's really a great last recommendation. And that was all we had to share today. If you visit us on our website, you find a CSRD Ultimate Guide. Have a read, enjoy that. And you can also, of course, reach out to us. Our contact details is on the screen if you want to hear more about our platform, our services, or the CSRD gap analysis.
So thank you so much for watching, and I hope to hear from you soon and see you again soon.
Bye.
Bye.